Hey, what's up? Not too long ago, I recorded a video showing you how to take advantage of the pin on your knights, because that's one of the most common errors. One of the biggest misconceptions in amateur chess is that when your opponent plays out this move bishop to g4, pinning down your knight to your queen, very often we feel kind of uncomfortable, not really sure how to deal with it, and very often people end up playing something like bishop e2 in response, just trying to defend, and that is very often the worst reaction to an opponent trying to pin your knight. There are a lot more aggressive and a lot better ways to deal with it. I'm going to share with you both the tactical way as well as the strategic way to punish your opponent who is trying to pin your knights. Okay, so let's kick it off with this position that we have right now on the chessboard. Actually, it arises from the Scandinavian defense. And here after knight to c3, the most popular move here is queen d8, surprisingly, but that's the case. And after white goes knight to f3, your opponent has an opportunity right here or in some other positions, of course, to play bishop to g4. Now, what can you do besides this little bit passive defensive move bishop to e2? Well, there are different ways. One of them is to put your bishop to a more active square, bishop to c4. And what happens very often after that is that when your opponent develops one of his knights, either knight to c6 or knight to f6, that fails basically to the same tactical idea. For example, after knight to f6, you even have a couple versions of the same tactics, so you have a pleasant choice of how do you prefer to win. One way is to take here, bishop takes f7 first, inviting your black's king to come here, and then knight to e5 delivers this fork. So on the next move, you pick your bishop back, plus along the way you won a pawn, this pawn on f7, you exposed opponent's king, and you got a winning position. That's one way. The other way is even more spectacular. The other way is to revert the moves and to start with the move knight to e5 with similar ideas. So here you're attacking the bishop twice with your queen as well, and black's gonna do something. Of course, black may think, well, I can just win the queen, but after that there is bishop takes f7, checkmate. Here comes another common opening position, and guess which move is the most popular for white here? Yes, it's the move bishop to g5. White is hoping to pin down your knight in the future, maybe to bring the other knight here to d5 and to add more pressure to this knight, so that's what they're dreaming about. But of course, if you know the right way to take advantage of your opponent trying this unsound attack, then you can turn the situation around. And here is the problem with the move bishop g5. White played it a bit too early, before you castled. And when they do so, you've got an opportunity to push your pawns forward, which gives you a lot of extra tempos for developing your own expansion on the king side. So first we play pawn h6, your opponent drops the bishop back, now pawn g5, once again we play this move with a tempo, attacking the bishop, forcing it all the way back to g3. And here you can already notice the first good thing that you achieved. Now this bishop on g3 is completely locked, it's in the cage. As you can see, it has no way out, it has no moves, right? So it's completely passive, which is already nice. Moreover, in the future, let's say you go bishop g4 yourself, very often if your opponent castles at some point, that gives you even more opportunities for a devastating attack. Let's say white castles right here. Then you can keep pushing your pawns forward. You just play pawn h5 and it threatens pawn h4, and from here you're just gonna trap the bishop completely and win it. And that again gives you even more tempos to develop your attack on the king side. Because now in order to save their bishop, white has to move the pawn forward, let's say pawn h4, which also weakens their king side position. And after that, you've got different ways to attack. For example, knight to d4 to attack this knight. Now if white captures over here on g5, again, you've got different ways. For example, pawn to h4. Also notice that we keep making lots of moves with the tempo thanks to this ugly bishop on g3, which only helps you in fact. Also, your rook on h8 is doing a great job. It's getting involved from its original square, which is nice. You didn't need to develop it, spend any time getting it involved, and it's already really active. And white is lost, basically, right? We want to capture over here. Our bishop is pinning the knight, it can't move, can't capture the pawn. After bishop h2, let's say you can keep pushing forward, pawn h3, and white is collapsing. Let's say if white takes your knight, you take here, attack the rook. After they capture, you take here, attack everything, king, queen, and you just start to collect the harvest. You take everything, and here at this position, white resigned. All right, let me share with you one more idea how you can take advantage of your opponent trying to pin your knight. So let's say you play the queen's pawn move, pawn d4, pawn d5, something like this. And in a position like that, let's say your opponent goes bishop g4. And we're not talking just about this particular position, of course, it's a pattern. In whatever opening, if they're trying to play this out against you, you know what to do. Again, of course, we aren't going to play bishop e2 like most people do, because that's passive and we have better ways to deal with this. So when there is this bishop on g4, there is also an idea to consider hunting the bishop itself. Even if you can develop a kingside attack against your opponent's king for the absence of your opponent's king there, you can at least hunt the bishop. You can play h3, pawn g4, pawn g6, bishop g6, and then knight e5. And what you do here is you're trying to pressure this bishop itself, and it's actually quite annoying for black. For example, after black plays any move, let's say knight e7, whatever, or pawn e6, you just can't keep pushing pawn h4, and you literally want to just capture it completely. So right now, black's already in trouble. If, let's say, they play something like pawn e6, you just play pawn h5 and the bishop is trapped. The only square for the bishop to go to would be bishop e4, but then you keep attacking it, and now there is no escape, and you just win a piece for nothing. You may be wondering, but what if my opponent makes an escape square for the bishop? Well, you can still realize all the same plan. So we take advantage of this bishop, we start our pawn assault, and we expand on the king side. When we play knight to e5, we keep pressuring this bishop. And if your opponent at some point, let's say after pawn e6, pawn h4, and your opponent decided that, hey, this h5 threat is dangerous, let me provide an escape square, and plays pawn to h5 or pawn to h6, doesn't really matter. In both cases, you can just take this bishop over here and destroy black's pawn structure. And after that, if you play, let's say, bishop d3 and you take aim at this weakness right away, you can already see that black is feeling very uncomfortable here. You have a strong bishop, black's position is collapsed, their king is in danger, and you're having quite a significant positional advantage here. And if that's not enough, we've got one more way to take advantage of your opponent, pinning down your knight to your queen. In this case, we're going to use the fact that due to the lack of the bishop on the queen side, black's queen side is getting weakened, and we're going to attack it. So what we do is we play pawn to c4, which is a standard move anyway, just trying to influence the center, but besides that, it opens up this route for the queen, and from there we're going to target this weakness, which is weakened for lack of black's bishop over there on c8. So after c4, black usually goes here pawn e6, and now let's say you can play queen to b3, and you already showed to black that there are downsides of developing their bishop as well, not only upsides. And after queen takes b7, we're going to attack the rook as well, right? So that's uncomfortable. In most cases, black plays a natural move pawn b6, which also weakens their light squares overall, and we can keep attacking it. So we go knight to e5 now, attacking this bishop, putting more pressure on black. If black goes something like bishop to f5, we can now trade pawns and bring our bishop into the attack. So we want to clear this diagonal first. So we trade here, play bishop b5 check. We can see that now black starts suffering for lack of these light squared weaknesses. Let's say knight to d7, and now you can already see that black's position is quite shaky. You know, this knight is under the massive pressure here, and we just need to add a little more fuel to our attack, and you can do this with a nice move pawn e4, and that's actually a nice winning shot here. Our idea is to open up the diagonal for the other bishop. If, let's say, black takes with the bishop, and it's hard for black to move because they have to keep guarding this knight, then you play bishop g5, and it's clear to see that we just overpinned black, you know, everywhere. That's just too much for black to handle. You know, this knight is pinned, and we're gonna probably win something on the next move. So that's winning for white. And if we take this move back, there is another funny variation here. If black decided that they don't want to move this bishop away because they want to maintain the guard of this knight, and they take with a pawn, then there is a funny checkmate, queen takes f7. All of a sudden there is a checkmate in one. Also, let me remind you that there are just a couple days left to take advantage of our Christmas